we at?
Oh, you want me to do it? I'll do it.
Welcome. Good evening, fight fans. Welcome to another great episode of Headkicks and Haymakers. I'm your boy Bodkins, and of course, with me is Mr. Bobby Blunts and a man who celebrated his birthday on Sunday. Your boy K Witt. Boys, first of all, happy birthday, Witt. Hope you had a great birthday. Another trip around the sun. We bless you, brother.
Yes, happy birthday.
Thank you so much, guys. Thank you so much. It wouldn't have been as complete without you guys this past year. Some change, man. Thanks.
Oh, and boys, it is. UFC 314 absolutely delivered top to bottom. Great card, and it ended with Bobby, you called it. You said it on last week. We're gonna get y'all must have forgot moment. And Alexander Volkanovski gave us y'all forgot moment. So that we'll get to Alex in a minute, but the co-main event. I mean, Paddy Pimblett absolutely destroyed Mike Chandler from the opening bell to the tap. So making his return is to talk to us about it is none other than Mr. Audio Michael Chandler, baby.
Good evening,
Mike. What's up, my man? Tough day at the office on Saturday night. What's up, my man?
Tough day at the office, indeed. First off,
what happened?
Happy birthday!
I mean,
thanks, Mike. I appreciate it. Much appreciated.
What the hell happened there, Mike? Paddy came in with his haircut and he whipped your ass. We're just gonna call it like it is.
Okay, we're just getting right into it. Listen, I'm calling in from the depths of despair. I'm calling in from the endless hole in my heart that exists because of this loss. And you just got to let it move through you. You just got to let it move through you. I have to focus on what I'm grateful for every day. I have my health. I have the love of my wife, my children. And that's what happened. Someone who tried his best got bested. And we can sit here and talk about, the fact that he targeted my injured leg, the fact that, I wasn't given enough time to account for myself, the fact that he faked a low blow, which clearly we can watch the replay back, landed on the thigh. Do you want to talk about the fence grab? He might have learned a couple things based on what I was discussing on my last visit in terms of, these referees cuts both ways, right? They're not enforcing any of this stuff. But no, those are explanations, not excuses. Like I said, I'm calling from the depths of despair. And there's only one way to go. You know where that is. It's the top.
Down? Is that where we're going down the rankings, Mike? I mean, in my personal opinion, Mike, I think it's time to hang it up.
Wow.
No. Just you're 30, absolutely not.
You're 38 years old. You've only won 2 fights in the last 7 years now, 5 years here in the UFC. I love you, Mike. You've put on some entertaining fights, but I think it's time. I don't know what's next for you. What is next for the one and only Michael Chandler?
Bobby King Green. Who else? Come on, start throwing me names. There's however many great matchups for me left in the endlessly deep lightweight division.
You're fighting Bobby King Green, a guy who's not. That's who you're going to call out?
Sure. Why not? What? Listen, who have I lost to? Future title contenders, champions. legends of this game. Dana said it after the fight, right? I am the UFC's Arturo Gatti. And I mean, listen, I'm calling in with 48 stitches in my face. Okay, my leg is in a worse place than it was before I began rehabbing it, and no part of me is even considering stopping. You know, I've gotten offers that would make your head spin from Karate Combat, from BKFC, from this promotion that's calling itself the GFL, and I just tore them up. You know, it's not even remotely crossing my mind. Has the goal changed? No. Has the Conor McGregor fight seemed less possible? Not at all. We're going to be the first president and vice president. Well, I think the level of possibility entirely and has always depended on Conor's willingness to go through a training camp and a weight cut. But sure, if you're implying that he thinks it might be an easier fight, you know, okay. I don't think he's going to want to kick my legs either. You know, I think we're going to be more than happy to have a boxing match. And you know, Patty didn't like the Jefferson County Javelins coming at him either. You know, why do you think he grabbed the fence so hard when I took him down? Go rewatch that first round, okay? But no, listen, Patty's a great fighter. I'm not going to say I underestimated him. Okay, something's Atmos. Something's Amos.
Yep.
No.
He's saying he agrees with me. You should retire, Mike.
Just flat out, not even remotely considering it.
So on the positive note, like the one thing I will give Michael Chandler credit for, and this is an amazing stat. I actually had to look this up because I didn't even think it was possible in today's age. But with all the fights this man's had, he has never once fought in the Apex. So what does that tell you? That does tell you that Dana does, you know, put him on these decent cards and stuff. So for me personally, I think he should.
Grant Dawson to have an Apex card. That's what that tells me.
No. We match him up with Grant Dawson, but it will be on the main card of a pay-per-view. I mean, he still has, you know, that name that you can put on the main card of a pay-per-view because, you know, when he puts his neck out there, no pun intended, he, you know, definitely will be entertaining. So to me, it's definitely time to, you know, fight outside the rankings, but at the same time, if he wants to keep going, I'll never tell a fighter to stop.
Thank you, Bobby Blunts. And that's a great fight too. You know, Grant Dawson. I am in the right weight class to do this. And there's two kinds of fighters, right? There are, and you know, no shade being thrown. There are the Lerone Murphys, okay, and there are the Michael Chandlers.
Sounds like shade. Guy's undefeated
and winning,
and one guy's losing.
Is this the bully Michael Chandler hour? I mean, geez, you know, it's hi guys, calling in from the depths of despair.
But he does have. Chandler does have a point in the aspect of like Lerone's last two fights had been in the Apex. There was literally a London card the week before, and they still stuck him on the Apex. They would not dare do that to Iron Mike Chandler.
I'm just calling it. I think I'm always going to do is I call it like I see it, my friend. Like I love you to death. You know, I wish I could see it, but I'm seeing I got to ask the tough questions.
Listen, you don't need to see me at the top. I'll see you at the top. Okay.
Whoa.
And
and listen, I'm at home because
the top of the pay-per-view game.
The top of our maybe. You know,
the top of the most exciting, most violent fighter in the UFC. It takes two to tango. Okay. Have you ever seen me in a fight where I am on the back foot, you know, impressing you with my footwork, with my defensive responsibility?
Your back foot
I just watched you fight Saturday where you weren't even in the octagon. I mean, that wasn't the Chandler to me. That fought Charles Oliveira for the title. that fought Dustin, that should have almost beat Dustin, should have beat Dustin Poirier.
Well,
Smart.
let me stop you right there. I was there that night. And again, I didn't come here to make excuses. I think we continue to underrate the skills of Patrick Mark Pimblett, excuse me. And that entirely has to do with, as Joe Rogan noted, his accent, his silliness, his haircut. It makes it very easy to overlook A, his physical presence, and B, I think this fight cemented it for me. Everyone, and I'll even include myself in this, has been overlooking his fight IQ. It is a gamer move. When have we seen Patty come out and blast leg kicks in the way that he did? And I made the mistake, of being open about that injury. And I've done everything I could to rehab it. I've been in a cryogenic chamber. I'm blasting myself with stem cells in Germany. I'm training with an oxygen mask.
You got
I'm
frozen.
eating.
You got frozen in carbonite. I heard about that too.
Yes, I'm eating nothing but Graham protein powder, peanut butter, jelly sandwiches, the official peanut butter jelly sandwich of Power Slap. I'm doing everything that I possibly can. Okay. And one or two good leg kicks, and he's a young man, right? He doesn't have as much miles on him in the octagon, in the cage. And, we've seen it with Jose Aldo, right? That used to be a big part of his game. He's loosened up on it a little bit in his later years because it is Justin Gaethje. It's a young man's game, blasting leg kicks as hard as you possibly could be. And from the moment that fight started, I was compromised. You might say that you didn't, see my best, but I promise you, effort is never the issue with me. And I'm not losing a step. I don't think I look slow in there. I think it was a great first round. We will never know what would have happened if he didn't get away with that fence grab. And it takes two to tango. It takes two to tango. And listen, the low blow, who we can never know what would have happened if he didn't. I was pressing the cardio. If Dominic Cruz had been on the mic that night, he would have said Chandler is testing Patty's cardio. They both get a break. Now we're going to see them right with and that's part of the game. That's part of the game. The referee's going to do his job, not do his job. If Patty wants to say I kicked him, square in the jewels with my shin as hard as I possibly could because I needed a break, agree to disagree. Look at the replay. I have, and I saw what I saw.
Do you think that maybe Dustin Poirier being on the UFC desk and you were kind of concentrated on with DP? You had put out some tweets about, you're coming along. Did that get in your head more than on, as you say, Patrick Pimblett?
No, I mean, I think that's just good, good marketing for the UFC. It was nice to see my good friend Dustin Poirier on the desk. We don't yet know who he will be fighting for Uno Mas. And I'm not going to get myself in trouble and say anything more, but keep your eyes peeled for this summer, okay? My face is in bad shape, but, I heal like Wolverine. And
now, if you're talking about like Logan, maybe yes, but Wolverine. Listen, Louis, let me just say this, audio Mike. First of all, we all respect what you've the blood, sweat, and tears that you have put into the octagon. This is one of those moments where I've got to interject, man, and say like, let's do the cool thing and let's make fights for you in the future that make sense based upon what is available, who is doing what. I don't want to see you in there against guys where you're gonna get bodied. Let's put you in there with a Matt Frivola, somebody that's gonna fight you, stand up or something like that. Let's see you fight a Gamrot. You know what I'm saying? Like, but I don't want to see someone whose competitive spirit equals putting you on your back and taking advantage of you anymore, man. I honestly think that you have at least one or two more fights. But if you are to get caught in a situation very similar like what we saw this past Saturday at UFC 314, Uncle Dana may pull the plug, man. We've got to go full bore all-out brawl or nothing else. If they say he does jujitsu, tell him no. If they say he used to, he's a grappler, tell him no. But if they say he's a stand-up brawler, you take that fight, you put your name on that paper, brother, and you meet that man in the center of the octagon because you are one of the most exciting fighters we've seen in the UFC. But these matchups, in your latter years of your career, they're not the best matchups for you, big guy. And I want the best for you. So as your boy, as my name says, I'm your boy. I want what's best for you. So we gotta pick the better fight from now on. If they wrestling, even if they wrestling, and I believe your wrestling is top tier. It just was not on display this past Saturday, as we got a chance to see Patty Pimblett put on a bit of a clinic to show that his ground game is becoming more elite, as we pundits thought it was less deserving of accolades. He actually showed us some things this weekend, man. I felt bad as I saw these cuts across your face and that look in your eyes. You looked at him square in the face and he dropped an elbow on you. I hate that for you, man. I want to see you win. We want to see you win here at Headkicks and Haymakers. Right, guys? We want to see him win, right?
No, I actually want to see him retire.
Well, thank you, Whit. And Bodkin said it's not going to happen. And the UFC is, I've gotten checked in on by Dana, and they want to make sure my head is in a good place. But part of what was interesting about the Pimblett fight was what a win would have meant for either of us, right? And I'm in a different position now. There are some white whales like the McGregor fight that are not going away. And Bodkin, as you said, they might be more possible, now. But regardless, what do I bring to the table? The UFC title run is farther away now, certainly.
You still hope? You still have hope, or is that book closed?
Well, here's the thing, right? And I'll go back to the Lerone Murphy. I'll stop picking on him. Movsar Evloev conversation, right? What does it take for a fighter like that to get to the belt? Perfection. A nearly endless string of wins. Not saying no to fights. Fighting in, what did you guys call it? The Apex? I've never even heard of this.
Never even heard of it. Never smelt it before.
I'm not aware of that. Okay. What could it take?
It's where Tough was filmed, Mike.
Oh yeah,
you were there, Mike.
You were there, but just not in the aspect of
I was so focused on coaching those guys. I viewed it as my gym. So that's interesting that they have another name for it. But
okay.
I seem to recall future possible opponent Conor McGregor kneeling with his hand in his face in a suit. Did that happen in what you're calling the Apex? That sounds familiar. Okay, well, regardless. Another way of getting to the title is being beloved, putting on jaw-dropping performances, win or lose, and fighting consistently. Okay, I took a lot of time doing the Tough show, going back and forth with McGregor, and now, as much as yes, I'm closer to ending my fighting career than I am to having began it. I need to make up for lost time. Okay, what do you think about this? Because I have some pretty bad superficial cuts right now, and science is advancing every day. We're going to see what can be done about this leg, but rattle off a couple wins, right? Grant Dawson. What are the other names that have been tossed around? Bobby King Green. A couple good wins in rapid succession in front of sold-out crowds, arenas. The Jefferson County Javelin, the son of Mike Chandler. Boom, we're back in the title picture. It's go ahead.
I get your Rolando Bedoya at the Apex. He's 14-4. He's young. He's not ranked. He's a brawler. I'm looking at it right now. I'm seeing it. I'm seeing it, bro.
How about in Chicago?
Do it.
What about Money Moicano? I think that makes actually good sense for you, Mike.
I believe he's booked. I believe he's booked. I'm trying to remember. This might not be official yet, but I believe
No,
he is fighting Beneil Dariush. Beneil Dariush, I believe, spoke about that on. Listen, I've been watching a lot of. I've been watching a lot of. Been spending a lot of time on the internet since Saturday, and I believe
Yeah,
Beneil Dariush had said that fight is going to be happening, which is a great one. You know, maybe the loser of that.
Yeah, that makes sense. I got two questions for you. We get out of here, and I don't know if the guys have any follow-up questions, but my two questions. Number one, first, you're outside of the UFC top 10. You're ranked number 12 as the new rankings today. So how do you feel about that? And looking back, I know it's hard to play 2020, our revisionist history, but do you feel like sitting out the year plus for waiting for Conor McGregor was now a mistake?
12, being outside of the top 10 and being within the top 10 is basically the difference of being one step away from the title and two steps away. That's how I view it. Glass half full, I'm the 12th best lightweight in the world. Hello, baby wit. That's,
You
that's
can't
why
adopt that one, Mike. That one's not for adoption.
Full stop. I'm never going to come back on your show if you keep being like this to me. No, I have a very good sense of humor about myself, if you can't tell by the way that I present myself in interviews. Remind me of your second question. Oh, if I made a mistake waiting out the McGregor fight, absolutely not, because it's still very much on the table. And, glass half empty. Let's say he never fights again. I'm his vice president of Ireland. That's a fine way to have spent 2 years. Okay, we're gonna reclaim Wales. We're gonna fix what's going on in that country, and that's that. So no, and even then, I'm not giving up hope. Could be the first president and vice president to fight professionally, making history. And I'm serious. I'm seeing some. You might not believe me, but we are both game. And yeah, there's not going to be a lot of wrestling. There's borderline going to be zero leg kicks. I would. You could put that in the contract at this point.
Bobby, any last questions for Mr. Mike Chandler?
No, I mean, maybe just to follow up on the unillegal nut shot, because I mean, I did rewatch it, and that was absolutely shin to cock. But I understand it is, the heat of the moment, so sometimes you might not notice. But
Oh, I've
I do
watched the
have to give
replay.
you credit for shooting for that takedown in the first round.
Thank you.
I was fairly surprised that you did that, and yeah, so very good.
Thank you. And
Wait,
listen, it was a great entry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to ask if Wade had any questions for you before we get you out of here, audio.
Yeah. This is just a general, Mike. As you look around the trajectory of the USC, and you have had a storied career. We got a chance to see Pitbull coming to the ring, one of your long-time favorite rivals from the other promotion, which is, of course, somewhat, I don't want to say going out of style, but of course, it's losing traction. Could one of the matches that Botkins is asking about where you retire, you lay the gloves down, could you give us one knockdown drag out with the Pitbull in the UFC octagon? All the stakes, all the cake on the table. One last Mike Chandler for all the marbles. Could you do that for the people? And my son, who seems to be interested in the fight.
If he wants to meet me at 155, absolutely. I would need a saw.
I thought that's what you were going to go with there. I thought that's what you were saying, Mike. Sorry.
No, yeah. Listen, at this point, I think the fight makes a lot of sense. I would need to cut off a leg to make 145. So if he wants to come up, I think, yeah. I don't know how they would need to. Uh, it's tough because of the rankings at lightweight, but if they're willing to do that for a one-off sort of fight, I think that would be great. Getting in the matchmakers' heads, they don't like to do a lot of veteran matchups, and they don't like to match up a lot of prospects because they're thinking ahead of how to best allocate their investments, right? So yeah, I would be willing. I don't know if Pipple would be willing. Just I started getting going about some of my favorite past opponents, past rivals, and I'm absolutely not calling him back out of retirement. I fully respect it, but got to show love to Eddie Alvarez, the Underground King. Go back and watch that fight. Um, that's something that you know I think of as an experience in my life to get me through moments like this. Because I mean, the places that we both went in that first round, um, that's what I'm cut from. I'm a walk-on kid at Missouri, ended up as the captain of that team, and you can knock me down, I'll get back up. You can knock me down again, I'm gonna get back up. You can tell me to retire 3 times in an interview, I will keep coming back on your show. I love you guys.
And we appreciate it, Mike. We really do. I don't want you to hate me, Mike. I love you. Thanks for coming. Thanks for taking out the time and joining us and telling us. And we will look forward to whatever the next chapter brings for you, Mike.
It will be more UFC fights outside of whatever this place called the Apex is. And Bobby, go Miami. I can see how excited you were. Congratulations on whatever happened.
Thank you, Mike. I appreciate it. My torture is
Everybody,
still
give
alive for another game.
the number 12 ranked light in the UFC, Mr. Mike Chandler.
See you at the top.
We'll keep it rolling, boys. You guys' thoughts here just on what Mike Chandler had to say about the fight and in general and everything else.
Well, just to be real, man, denial is not just a river in Egypt or a club outside of East Dallas. It's really one of those tough things where he mentions defense grab, he mentions the phantom nut shot. I think it's hard for him to look back on it and see that he took such a tough loss. And it's hard for me because I'm a fan of his. But I think in reality, going forward, he has to have um, more of the thought process about his next opponent, not just whoever UFC throws in front of me. I understand that's the old guard. I fight whoever, I fight anywhere. Da 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 da. Da. Yeah, man. But we want to see you go out a certain way. I want to see you do it the right way, ride off into the sunset, even if it's a loss. You know what I'm saying? Even if it's a loss, like the Du Bronx fight, he lost that fight. If he would have put the gloves down 2 fights ago, we would have said, man, look at that effort he put out, even in a loss. You know what I'm saying? And that's what we want to see for Mike Chandler in a ride out type of moment, which is why I'm suggesting, man, look, you got guys like what's my guy with the
I think Grant Dawson makes the perfect sense. Like Grant's like
Grant
12.
Dawson, Chris Duncan, who's an unranked fighter. Like I those guys who are not going to go in there and fight and leg kick all day. You want to slug, you want to hang and bang? Let's do it. Stop picking jiu-jitsu guys.
Do you give him Bobby Green just as a Bobby?
No, I don't. I think Grant Dawson at the very highest. I would not match him up with Bobby Green. Um, to me, it was kind of evident that he was. You mentioned the 2 years out of the cage and stuff, and there's certain things like, and we've seen it in other fights with him when he's like directly running backwards because he can't like get out of the way and stuff. I think that's just, time out of the octagon and, going into it, breaking it down. What did we say? We said we knew Patty was getting better. Um, when Patty was in the cage. The size difference was very apparent to me, like Patty has definitely put on a decent amount of size from when he, first came in here. So,
Right.
he couldn't have had a better fight. You could tell he definitely watched a lot of tape on Chandler. And when he was doing certain tells, he was, blitzing him. He did that one move where he pushed off the cage and stuff. So, the fight delivered. Michael Chandler just took a, pretty bad beating in the fight. But
I thought,
it was one of the more enjoyable fights on the card, in my opinion. Like perfect to segue into the main event.
yeah, I want to get to Patty. I want to finish up with Patty and kind of what's next for him, and then we'll go back to the main here. But Patty, that was the best fight of his life. He came out with his A game and he delivered. He kind of called out the cream of the crop of the lightweight division. Said, I think he called Mr. Poshboy Armin. Called out Charles. Called out Justin. And he knows he's one away from getting a title shot. I think he's ranked. I believe. Let me look here where they put him in the rankings. I think 10 or. Was he 10 now? So he's number 8. So he's 8. So it looks like we know Dustin. It's kind of said and done. I like the Armin fight. I like him and Charles. Like we'll see. This lightweight division's tricky. We'll kind of get a little bit more into it here in a little bit later. With stepping in, we know Ilya's going to be right there. He's on Joe Rogan said a title shot is next for him no matter what. It's being reported Islam's kind of waiting to see what happens with the welterweight division before he kind of takes his next fight. But very interesting as far as like this lightweight division and where Patty goes. I give him one of those top guys. I like him and Armin. They have a little back and forth. I don't know why Colby Covington is talking all this shit. He's, just to try to stay relevant. But for you, who would you match up with, Patty? I'm good with Charles or Armin. Armin needs one to kind of get back in, so why not just do him and Patty? He kind of said Charles is the kind of like the historic person in this group, and I'm okay with him and Charles. I think on the ground they would kind of cancel each other out.
Hey man, I'm gonna speak from the heart on this one. Okay, this was a milestone fight, I think, for Paddy Pimblett. The underselling of his talent and the downplaying of his ability to win fights is no longer a relevant conversation. Not in the thanks, Michael. Strange that you have that comment right now, but but anyway. But the underselling of his fight and his talent is over with. But I want to see the envelope pushed now. You know what I'm saying? Now that we got this, I want to we ain't pussyfooting no more, brother. We giving you all your fights a 93 octane from now on. You know what I'm saying? This is what we're going to do going forward as UFC fans and UFC matchmakers. We're going to be pushing for the envelope to be freaking open. You know what I'm saying? So where's the Dan Hooker fight? Ooh, that's exciting to me in my mind. Where's the Justin Gaethje fight? Make me think about. Ooh, that's exciting. Charles Oliveira, Armin Sarukian. That's high. That's really high. That's really white whale-ish. You know what I'm saying? I get it. Don't get me wrong. But I want flash. I want excitement. I want just a little bit of the thing that makes you like, when you put chicken in the skillet and you're frying it. I want that when I think about these fights. Dan Hooker gives me that. A possible Justin Gaethje fight gives me that. And somewhere in here, Moicano. Moicano gives me air fry. You know what I'm saying?
Moicano in my mind now. He's
past Moicano in my mind. But Moicano gives me air fryer. But I mean, chicken in a pan, sizzling, stand back, burn your wrist on accident. I'm talking about Hooker. I'm talking about Gaethje. And if we really want to, go outside and have a bonfire, then you go Charles Oliveira. But let's not waste time with how good he has been. Let us get to what it's April now. So let's go August, September. and let's see him again. And
Yeah.
yeah, and let's see him again because he didn't take that much damage in my mind anyway.
Bobby, what about you? I mean, Ilya Taporia said like that's the fight that he kind of wants, like really for the title. Says that he thinks that if he can win the title, that's the fight that actually intrigues him the most is Paddy Pimblett after the title fight.
I mean, for me, it's anyone in the top 5 I'd take. If I were to go preference, I'd say probably Charles, Justin, and Armin there. He's definitely one away. And when you're one away, you fight people like that. I do want to back up, though, and point out I'm not saying people on this podcast, but there were a lot of people that were picking Michael Chandler to knock out Patty and finish him. And, everyone like gets stuff wrong and stuff, but the sentiment going in was not that this was a
We all had
layup for
Patty, right?
Patty
We
at
all
all.
picked Patty. I know I did.
We all
We all
picked Patty, yes, but the
All right.
sentiment going in, no one was like calling it a layup for him. He just made it look that easy, which is why I find it all the more impressive. I mean, the way he was getting the angles on those elbows and stuff, I mean, that is a vicious ground game, and he, definitely knows how to take damage or, inflict damage other than, just throw in submissions. And again, I was surprised, not super surprised, but like, Chandler did, go for the level change immediately. And Patty seemed, pretty confident in getting up. There was a slight fence grab, but honestly, with who he was fighting, I could really give a fuck about that. Chandler's lucky they didn't take the point when he shinned him in the crotch. So, but like to finish him in the second round, like we just watched Charles Oliveira go 5 rounds with him. And granted, Charles was controlling him the entire time. So it wasn't like he was like looking for the submission where it seemed like Patty was just trying to get him out of there as soon as possible. But all those questions were answered, and all the people that are doubting him, like if you want to like go the narrative, oh, like Chandler looks like he lost a step and stuff, that'd be great if it was a 25-minute decision. He put him out on his ass before the end of the second round. So definitely give this man
Was it
his
the second? I
flowers.
thought it was the third. Was it the second? I can't remember if it was the second. Was it the second?
I thought it was the second, but I could be losing the whole round in my mind. The entire thing was domination to me. I remember it being late in the second because he really started inflicting the damage. Chandler
It was the
turned
third
over.
round.
It was the
It
third.
was the third. Yeah.
Damn, then
Yeah,
he
that's how
really,
one-sided it was, though. Like
yeah.
I'm right there with you. It's like while I think that Patty, that's how impressive Patty was to me. Is like Michael Chandler offered nothing, absolutely nothing to Patty in all 2.5 rounds.
It really looked like Michael Chandler's been through a lot, and it just looked like when by the time the second round happened, it looked like he didn't understand how much he was losing at the time. But he went into it with a wide open case of, okay, well, if he takes me out, he takes me out. And I give Chandler credit for that. Just like you said, Bobby, or in that opening round, the immediate level change. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's get him thinking that that's what we're going to go for. When we were talking about it, right? That was what we said. We said he needs to be afraid of Michael Chandler trying to take him down, trying to wrestle him. It definitely was put out there in his mind like, hey, this could happen. But I think that the information, the usage of the information really got into the psyche and the game plan of Patty. And you can't shoot for takedowns if your legs aren't there. They don't really work as well. And it's unfortunate, dog. Like it's really unfortunate. I wanted to see a more competitive turnout for Mike, but this was the, like I said, this was the milestone, the capstone fight for Patty Pimblett. We can't talk no more trash or nothing.
And good Yeah, and good for Pat. He proved on Saturday night to any doubters, he proved that he belongs. He belongs in the top 5. He belongs, and now Colby Covington's out there trying to shit on this poor guy.
Hey, listen, I wish I could have. I was thinking about texting you guys, and I said this would be a perfect time for Colby Covington to walk in and make it some USA versus Scouser Bull, Red Dragon Energy.
They're not even the same weight class. That's the problem. They're not even the same weight.
Yeah, they're not. But somehow Colby Covington, that was the perfect opportunity for Colby Covington to show his face and have a real heel moment, since we haven't seen him since he got his behind whooped anyway.
Yeah. Let's go back to the main event, because we didn't really touch on it as much yet. I mean, like I said, Bobby called it on last week's show. It was going to be a y'all must have forgotten moment, and it really was. That looks like the Alexander of old. The one steamrolled every 145er that came through. Diego Lopes had one good. I mean, he knocked him down the second, but I still don't think that really. He didn't win that round. He won the 4th round, and outside of that, Bobby, I mean, it was a good fight. It was not like it was one-sided, but Volk just put it on him. I thought Volk won an incredible. It was a good fight, but Volk, I didn't have it any other way other than giving the 4th round to Diego.
Yeah, I had it 4-1. Masterclass by Volk. He led the entire time. And he had, Diego turning a lot. He just kept, moving forward. And I think when Diego watches the fight back, he's going to be very disappointed because, I heard, some people making some comments like, I don't think, Diego's stock dropped at all. I can't disagree with that more. Now, if we're talking stock as far as being a fan favorite, sure, that stock ain't gonna fall. Like he'll probably still have his fandom. But if we're talking stock, like he is going to win a title, going into this, I was concerned that there'd be issues kind of adjusting and stuff once he got into the deep waters. And Volk was able to more or less do the same thing the entire time. Obviously, in the end of the second round, that is the one mistake Volk really made, where he backed up just a little bit too carelessly and got dropped. But prior to that, for 2 minutes, he was really putting it on Diego. So I gave him that round. Meaning Volk, I could see if someone wanted to do the argument of giving Diego the second and the 4th, but in my opinion, the best you could really do. Is that 4th round there. But it was very frustrating watching it happen because you're seeing him go back to his corner and his corner is offering him absolutely no technical advice on really what to do, and he just got pieced up the entire time. The end of the fight, his eye was pretty much swollen shut from that jab. And what did we say before? Volk is really good at going first and third, whether it's the feint or throwing the strike. He was getting Diego to, really bite on everything. And li- we kind of buried the lead. He only got one takedown. I mean, Diego was able to nullify the wrestling, which I thought was going to be a big advantage for Volkanovski if he got it to the ground. But Volk didn't even need that because he was able to just pretty much, move the entire time and inflict damage. And please save me with he just ran away for 25 minutes. That is just
No.
what
I don't
are
think
we
he
doing
ran
here?
25 minutes, but I will disagree that I didn't think Diego's stock went down. I think Diego's going to go back and watch that fight and think he didn't pull the trigger enough. He wasn't aggressive enough, especially in the early rounds to me. Like after he got down in the 3rd round, after he knocked Volk down in the 3rd round, in the 2nd round, he should have came out guns blazing in the 3rd, ready to put him back down. You already knocked him down once in the 2nd, put it on him. He wasn't aggressive enough where we've seen him aggressive. I don't know if he was worried about his cardio because we've seen that a few times where it failed him. It didn't fail him in this fight at all. Like keep the distance. So maybe he was able to now put that in his mind. Like I can go 5, but he's got to figure out how to pull the trigger more because he didn't pull it enough, especially in the first round. And I was surprised he wasn't more aggressive in the third round. What's your thoughts?
To be real with you, bro, we've been on this show for a while, and it's very rarely that I disagree with Bobby, but I agree with you. So it's kind of odd, you know what I'm saying? But to be real, man, the I feel like and this is not a negative. I feel like Diego gave Volkanovski a lot of respect coming into this. And to a degree, it may have been a mental job because, of course, y'all know prior to the when they first made the announcement, Volkan and Diego were hanging out at the last UFC pay-per-view together, drinking, hanging out, being cool. So now the mental game starts where you finally get in there and he's across from you, and you're giving them the respect that you would give a equal. You know what I mean? But you can't do that, especially in terms of winning a belt. You said it perfect, Bikens. When it got to that knockdown, that should have been the light switch is on. He's done for. You know what I mean? Because in my mind at that time, that should have been the equivalent of saying, okay, he can't take much more of this. You know what I mean? But I think that he went especially on the get back in between rounds, the pensiveness of going, hey, don't let that old man fool you. He's still over there. He's still ready to go. He still can knock you out. He can still do this and do that. That made Diego slow it down and go into those last 2 rounds, those championship rounds, a little precautious. Like, okay, we're gonna go for the feint. We're gonna wait for him to swing. And it was more of a counter job. Don't get me wrong. It's obvious that some of those counter punches were landing. I don't know if you guys saw it on Instagram. Volk went out that night. He had a ball. It looked like he had a great time, but his eyes were 2 different colors. So Diego was landing.
Oh yeah, at one time during the pressers, one eye wasn't even blinking. It's literally
so Diego was landing some punches, but that old man's strength got him through. But I really feel like at the very beginning, he gave him, what I'm used to seeing from Diego Lopez, bro. In my have watched, a couple of his fights, I wanted the Diego Lopez that we saw fight Dan Ige, kind of sort of. I wanted the Sabatini, the Diego Lopez. That's what I want. But it's because I think the respect that Volkanovski has earned outside of the ring and has earned inside of the ring. Diego Lopez was like, I can't get myself out of position to where I leave my chin open, to where I'm out of position to where he can take me down and take advantage of me. But I think that at that same time, having that thought process does not give you the right idea of how to beat a guy like Volkan. You got to go full out to beat Volk because, his fight IQ, how long he's been doing stuff. If you give him the opportunity to beat you, especially championship rounds, he's going to point you out. So that's my take on it.
Go ahead, go ahead, Bobby.
Yeah, I mean, to elaborate on me saying his stock went down, I'm not calling him Michael Chandler here. What I mean by that is Volk is just, it ain't that hard to figure out. Volkanovski is just levels ahead of Diego Lopez.
I mean, he's levels ahead of a lot of guys.
I would solely stay on Diego for a moment here because, again, going stock down before Saturday night, I would have favored Diego Lopez in a fight against Yair Rodriguez. And if that Diego Lopez shows up, Yair would do the same thing and be able to piece him up. I think he is multiple fights away from being able to get back to a title. He,
Wow.
having him just because he fought right now at the number one contender, he got a little bit elevated. Have him fight like number 5 or number 6. Do not match him up with like 2, 3, 4, because he will probably lose. And then what are we doing? He needs to. He's been on this tear. He took some damage. Now he needs to go back out and have a good performance. And that ain't at the top of that division. That division is the most serious division in the UFC. And that is a quick way to go on a 3-4 fight skid. So when I say stock down, I just mean he's a long way away from competing for a championship title.
I don't think he's a long ways away.
So
Actually,
you'd
the
want to
rank,
see a rematch of that fight.
I think he needs 1 or 2 more.
Hmm.
And I think he could be right back in there.
But you think he could eventually beat Volkanovski?
And yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Another year or so. Volkanovski's age, like Volk. I'm not counting out Volk against anybody anymore. I shouldn't have done that. That was the first time I picked against Volk probably in over in this whole run. I've been riding with Volk the whole time, and I didn't pick again. I picked against him.
Can we
Let me ask
piggyback to Volk though? Because I made it too much about Diego
Go
when
ahead.
what
Volk is that
Volkanovski
damn good.
did.
Yes.
Yeah, but like what Volkanovski did, I mean, I don't know if you're gonna ask like goat conversation. I almost don't even want to like soil that. But the fact that he lost this title and was able to get it back at that age in this weight class, he was already a Hall of Famer, but like that's instant Hall of Famer shit.
For sure.
Like
Yeah.
it's
He's
just like
arguably the greatest featherweight of all time.
And
I think
and that
and
was
how easy he made that look, like when literally we knew the issue would be, oh, like what if he gets blitzed? He was not worried about getting hit at all. Like I'm
none.
like, oh, is he gonna feel it out? Not even a little bit. He just like fire to the wind, same shit. And you know I'm so glad this guy is champion again. We're going to get some activity back in the top of this division. Mosavar is next. Save me with the Yair nonsense. Like, let's get
I,
this division cooking again.
we're
I
all.
got one last. Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say we're all in agreement. Mozar Evilov's next for Volk, right? The title, like he's
Yeah,
next.
most are.
We're all okay. Go ahead, Whit.
Yeah, I was just going to say this. It's ironic that we're talking about Volkanovski in such high regard right now, but not to shade the moment because Volkanovski definitely deserves the accolades and the praise right now. But this goes to show you how good fucking Ilya Taporia was for a little while. You know what I'm saying? Like that we saw Volkanovski pretty much do I'm not going to say do what he wants, but do a really good Volkanovski impression. But
Or
to
I will
see,
say this: I don't want to shit on. I don't want to shit on Ilya, but it shows you that he should have not taken the second Islam fight, and he shouldn't have taken the Ilya fight so back to back so close.
yeah, he should have never took the second fight. No,
That's what it should. That's what that shows me. Like it
Yeah,
shows me that what I saw Saturday was the same Volk that took Islam to his brink.
and almost got him.
Yeah,
in the
but
first fight.
Ilya finishes that same Volk in 2 rounds because Volk was
That's
still
the,
making the mistakes where Ilya caught him. So I don't give a fuck if he has 3 years to
yeah,
like that
that's the scary
fight
part.
ends no other
We'll
way. And
never know.
emphatically, I got my answer to that on Saturday. I am so happy Volk did not take that fight because that would have been his career, and now he's a champion again.
Yeah,
We'll never know though, right? We'll never really know.
I do not think it makes a difference at all. Like Ilya is that powerful.
Yeah,
He put out Max Holloway, who's never been knocked out.
Yeah, but I would say that the getting up, Max. They talked about it on on Rogan today with Ilya that Max beefed up and then cutting back down. He just didn't look right.
But he looks so much better at a higher weight class, in my opinion. He looks so much more like himself. And then going back down to fight Ilya, I don't think it was a good match. But once again, we're putting. It sounds like apples to oranges, but it's more. It's closer than that because it's literally to see what we saw from Ilya to take it from Volk not once but twice, but then we get to put Volk in this category again because this was such a dominant performance. So how good was Ilya at that time during that run?
He's good. He's good.
Yeah,
like I'm not saying that Volk is the greatest featherweight of all time in my opinion.
All time. It just in the middle of that all time run, somebody just had to show up and fuck it up. You know what I'm saying? But still, give him all props deserved to Volkanovski. I can't wait to see what he does next.
So we got Mozart next for Volk. Bobby, I'm going to ask you first because you were kind of shitting on don't do him and Diego and Yair. I think that's the matchup to make. That's the perfect matchup to make is do Yair and Diego in Guadalajara in August. They got the beef. They sold me on the fight Thursday night when they were talking shit to each other. But you don't like that fight, so I'm going to ask you, what do you do next for Diego?
No, I didn't say I didn't like that fight. I just don't think Diego is going to win it anymore. Before, I thought he would emphatically beat Yair, and now, if that Diego from Saturday shows up, no way. He needs to get in there and watch that fight back, and I'm sure he can make the necessary adjustments, but. I don't think you can do any other matchup but the Yair fight, to be honest.
Okay.
But I just, it's a slippery slope because, like, especially at the elevation there and stuff, it's.
Well, this division's no matter who you fight, you just said it. This 145 division is, and they just added Pico to this division as well. So,
but like, yeah, if it wasn't Yair, I'd love like Lerone Murphy. Like stylistically, that's very similar, but then I guess it's kind of what do you do with Yair? But I have a feeling like the fallback plan was always we're putting that on Noche because I keep wanting to call it the Sphere, but it's just Noche now.
No,
Like that is like the layup of all layups. Like only like scheduling could like stop that. um I just really hope they kind of go back and examine that loss. I hope Diego is not like one of those type of fighters that like doesn't want to like rewatch the fight and stuff. I mean, granted, he does have a team to do that stuff, but I'm no expert at all. But if I'm able to notice these things in real time, I find it kind of absurd that his team was not able to also pick up on that. And you can call that revisionist water cooler history all you want.
I would say the same team did the same thing with Alexa Grasso. Remember in her title fight, like they're the same camp, same team. So
very similar.
They need to get together. Real quick, wait before you go, I just want to get this comment up. Megan Poot says, bet Paddy Pimblett will fight versus Justin Gaethje. Dan Hooker. Pimblett will become the UFC. He thinks that Paddy Pimblett will become UFC champion. Interesting. Do you got anybody different than Yair for Diego?
For the thing is, and this is another one. I would love, Yair did his thing this past weekend, of course. So what I'm thinking is what happens in this summertime, rather who has a fight booked already. Somewhere in here, we get things, and even the way I'm trying to describe it is, although I am agreeing with you, Bodkins, him taking this loss does not lower his stock value. he took on the guy, somewhat in a fashion in which he was out of place. When you lose like that and you go to the decision, even though it was unanimous, you still get some credit. So let's not have him fight too far down. But what's exciting to me is something like a Lerone Murphy or a Brian Ortega, maybe, which of course we've seen.
He beat Ortega. He just beat.
Yeah,
Ortega.
that's what I say, which is something of course we've seen. Well, who's towards the bottom that can come up and maybe give, like who has a fight book and that can maybe give some gas to this right now. We just seen Dan Ige come off with a W. Maybe that might be a big jump for Ige, but still, what else is there? Aljamain, the fuck doctor. I don't know, but
John Silva.
yeah, okay. Now, see that you took the words out of my mouth because we didn't get a chance to talk about it, but we saw a most dominant performance.
That was my next fight to talk about real quick.
Right, we'll get to it. So that's a great segue. So, as we say, John Silva, Bikins, let's talk. Lead us into talking about that one real quick.
Yeah, of course, maybe the most. I mean, there's three stars of the night, and you can rank them whichever way. But the other star that broke away is none other than John Silva and his choke. Of Bryce Mitchell. Bryce Mitchell, when he goes out, like whether he's getting knocked out or tapped out, it's like meme worthy. I promise you that. Bryce had no offers to John Silva. John Silva looked as good as advertised. And he is for real. He called for a title shot. I don't think that's net, should be next for him. John Silva is now entered the rankings at number 11. Bryce Mitchell out of the rankings. So he snatched that number. But John Silva at 11. And personally, for what's next for John Silva, here's a name for you that I like. And I hate to do it because I like the guy, but Arnold Allen. Arnold Allen at 6. John Silva versus Arnold Allen would be a hell of a fun fight. Two guys who can do it all the way around. What about you, Whit? Your thoughts on Mr. Silva Saturday night and kind of who's next for him?
Yeah, man. First of all, it's when we say things on these shows, when we talk about certain camps, we don't know sometimes what we're getting ourselves into, but we pretty much all verbally agreed that Thug Nasty was in for it. You know what I'm saying? And somehow, some way, bro, it was more than we expected to see from John Silva. This was another one in my mind. You wanna show who you really are. You want to represent the fighting nerds. You want to come up and be on a UFC pay-per-view. This is the type of exhibition you got to put on, bro. Put them out. Leave no doubt in the viewers' minds and the matchmakers' minds and Dana White's mind that you are that effing guy. And basically, John Silva did that. Shout out to Thug Nasty for going out there and putting out the best effort, but he was overpowered the entire time. And then that picture of him getting barked over will last forever, unfortunately. But like we said, as far as the matchmaking goes, I like where you're going with this one. It's a big thing to say, okay, Brian Ortega just took a loss. Have they fought before? No. You know what I'm saying? That's like a sexy name right there. Why? Because Brian Ortega's got the ground game to kind of match with the stand-up of a John Silva. That Thug Nasty did not have apparently. You want to get a little higher, you want to just have some really tough possible grappling ground game competition. We get a healthy Aljo in there, fuck doctor, maybe we can get that going. But right now, I don't want to put. I see Arnold Allen as a really good UFC fight night main event. John Silva, Arnold Allen. But right there, I'm thinking Ortega or Aljo because I want to see someone with an equal an equal acumen of grappling against him because man, he walked the dogs on, bro. Because he could not get out of bad positioning, and I want to see somebody that could possibly put John Silver in bad positions. Win because hey, Ortega's or even though he took a loss to Diego Lopez, Ortega's got some some nasty stuff when it comes to being on that ground. And we all know Aljo's been at the top of the division at least once or twice and has basically shown what he's done. Even though we haven't seen him in a while, it'd be great to see him with some high level competition like that.
I wouldn't mind him and Aljo. It'd be tough. Your thoughts on the UFC's next guy and John Silva here?
I'll get to the next guy in a moment. The going back to the performance, you can almost call it flawless. I mean, as far as like what Bryce was putting out there, it practically was. Um, and this has kind of always been John Silva's style. So I feel kind of weird being critical of him about this, but God, I would wish he would take this shit seriously sometimes. Like when you get to the very, very top like that, I don't know if you can be fucking around like that. And, maybe he's the one. We all remember how Anderson Silva always used to dance around and stuff.
Yeah.
And, there was a fair amount of kind of showboating. But, when you got him like signaling to, roofie before he throws a spinning kick and stuff, like that type of shit is going to get picked up immediately by, someone that really knows what they're doing and stuff. So, now that I got that out of the way, um, I do think this is the best first fight to give Aaron Pico. Like, I get the whole aspect of, oh, you're going to kill off one guy for another. Fuck all that. I really don't care. Like,
I
that's
was going to do
just,
Pico versus Pitbull, just two guys that haven't made. You know what I mean?
yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think Pitbull might want to take a little bit of a slide back, like maybe like an Aldo or something like that. But
Okay.
for me, I just like Pico, John Silva, like what I did get answered from John Silva, even though he had no adversity thrown at him, is he can grapple. Because if you are able to do stuff like that to Bryce Mitchell, you obviously are good enough to grapple. So that is why I don't think Pico is throwing him to the wolves at all. I think stylistically that would just be a banger. And the question is the UFC going to want to do that, or are they going to, he easily, though I do not think he is close to a title shot, he's obviously like now in that discussion now that he's ranked.
That's
And,
why I think Arnold Allen. I think Arnold Allen is 5. And really, I think they still have Max Holloway and Ilya in the rankings. So if you take those out, Arnold's actually higher. So like him and Arnold Allen would be great. I don't mind Ortega, but I don't know what's going on with Ortega. There was talks about him going to 155 at one point. So who knows? But yeah, I'm good with either of those. I don't know if a win over Pico gets him closer to the title. That's my only problem with
well,
it.
I think the UFC does rate Pico that high because, like, we saw them give him his own press conference after the O'Malley Marab 2 press conference, or
Yeah,
Marab O'Malley 2 because he's a champion. But like it would not shock me at all if they view him kind of like already being in the middle of the rankings or something because like we heard they tried to book the Mosar fight. I mean, he's literally the number one contender, so I do think they rate him very, very highly, and we do know who his manager is, so
yeah,
we know why they rate him highly.
yeah. Well, we're up at against the hour. We'll have a little bit more time next week as well. But I'll just kind of ask you. We'll kind of go around just we'll start with you. Final thoughts on UFC 314. I mean, real quick. Shout out some big winners here. Vierna Jaranova wins. She's now the number 1 ranked flyweight. In the women's is it fly? She's flyweight, right? Strawweight. Dan Ige,
Fly,
nice.
yeah, absolutely should fight Whaley next.
Yeah, strawweight. Sorry. Chase Hooper had a nice win. And Dominic Reyes. I mean, all the way back, baby. 3 in a row. So he's a fight or two away
Hey,
there as
shout out
well.
to Rob for calling that last week. The universe might get reset.
Hey, it might be. It might. Yeah, shout out. Whit, any final thoughts on just UFC 314 before we get up out of here?
Man, yeah, this is one of those ones where we're gonna remember this 2 or 3 months from now when the pay-per-views and the apexes start to drag. But yeah, this was a good one. These were some good, these were some linchpin milestone pay-per-view fights. Chase Hooper, shout out to him, got the unanimous decision. Dan Ige, we was waiting on it. Dominic Reyes, we was waiting on it. John Silva, who knew? Yair Rodriguez, who knew? Patty Pemblett, come on, and then the return of Volk, like that is right. Like if to say all of those other things and then cap it off with the return of Volk. Let's just mark our calendars for April for April 2025 as the beginning of what we will be foreseeing as a great UFC year. Oh yeah, real quick, got to throw it out there. In boxing world, we got Jared Ennis defeats Stanonis out there, pretty much, and puts him in retirement. Pretty much knocked TKO'd him in the 6th round. I forgot to mention that last week, but everybody knows Big Boots is out here in the streets knocking guys out. I can't wait to see what goes forward, happening with him in the future. So yeah, Boots Ennis, keep an eye on that one.
Bobby?
Yeah, I mean, it's good to see a pay-per-view actually deliver. I mean, neglecting all the apexes, if you hold this pay-per-view, like the main card, up to all the other pay-per-views, like others looked on paper, looked pretty good, and we were stuck with like a main event or like a decent co-main. Every fight on the main card delivered. I mean, I threw shade saying that the Dominic Reyes fight looked like it didn't belong on the card. I could not have been more wrong with that vintage, you know, Connor like Aldo knockout. I mean, that was a great way to kind of kick off the segue. And then you're immediately like, oh shit, John Silva and Bryce Mitchell is next. So,
Yeah.
yeah, they really outdid themselves with that one. Cherish those. They just pulled Burns and Morales off that Montreal card. So, we're going to get a little bit more padded down ones, but overall delivered. And let's give the PFL some credit too. Watch them on Saturday, or Friday. The tournament delivered again. Simple to easy to digest. You can get through it in an hour if you rewatch it. So, give them some love since there ain't no MMA on this weekend.
Yeah, the Burns Morales card got moved to May in the Apex. So there's that.
Yeah, they try to gaslight you saying, hey, you got 5 rounds. It's like, I'd rather take 3 with a crowd. Get the hell out
Yeah.
of here.
Exactly. Yeah, the card was stacked top to bottom, and it was the return of Volkanovski. It is a rare off week for pretty much all MMA. But it's WrestleMania week, baby. That's right. You can tune into WrestleMania this Saturday and Sunday. Can't wait for that. You guys know I'm a big wrestling fan, so I will be tuning in. I'm unlike you, Bobby. We were coming back and forth in Discord. I'm sold on WrestleMania. They got me hook, line, and sinker like they do every damn time. I'm all in. Next week, we'll be back 8 o'clock Central, 9 Eastern. We'll do our pound for pound since there's no fights to talk about. We'll do pound for pound and talk about any news that comes across. So,
And next week is Gary and Pratis, isn't it?
yeah, the Kansas City. But I mean, we don't have any previous fights to talk about. So we can do that. Yeah, John Cena. Heel John Cena. Hopefully, I kind of hope he beats Cody Rhodes. But nonetheless, it's been another great episode of Head Kicks and Haymakers, folks. Be a friend, tell a friend, like, subscribe, share. Y'all know. Have a great weekend. Happy Easter. For my guy, Whit, Bobby Blunts, I'm Bodkins. We'll catch you later.
Happy 420.
Thanks so much for joining us, and until next time, let's talk sport, friends. Thanks for watching.